The New Yorker magazine has published an extensive profile of President Obama. The piece is based on a number of interviews given by the president at the end of last year, and it touches on a broad number of subjects from race and NSA surveillance to his family life, even the NFL. But the topic that seems to be getting the most attention so far is what the president said about marijuana and pot legalization. Quote, "As has been well documented, I smoked pot as a kid, and I view it as a bad habit and a vice. Not very different from the cigarettes that I smoked as a young person. I don't think it is more dangerous than alcohol." NBC News' Kasie Hunt joins me live now. Kasie, a lot of people are talking about what the president had to say about pot in that interview. Has his views on marijuana legalization, have they evolved from his early days in his presidency?
Well, he has previously said before that he wasn't in favor of decriminalization, of marijuana, and this certainly seems to take him in a different direction. I mean, he emphasized in particular not only, the societal effects of actually using marijuana, but also the disparities between how people of color may be treated if they're caught smoking marijuana and it's illegal versus how middle-class people or white people are treated, and how the laws can disparagingly affect different groups of people. So he sort of described that as his overarching concern, and that's actually something that he shares with lawmakers on other sides of the aisle. Senator Rand Paul has actually made this something that he's focused on as well. He focuses on sentencing disparities and problems with the criminal justice system.
President Obama, also a big sports fan, not a secret. He says he enjoys watching football, but he also addressed the concussion issue in football as well. What did he have to say about that in the interview?
Well, sure. So the author of this piece described sitting on Air Force One and watching a football game with President Obama. And Obama says, quote, "I would not let my son play pro football. But these guys, they know what they're doing. They know what they're buying into." And the president was watching the Dolphins game with David Remnick, the author of this piece, on Air Force One. I can't help but wonder if his response might have been a little stronger had he been watching last night's Seahawks game.
That's right. Well, yeah.
And he didn't get that much further ahead of where, say, Brett Favre has been. He did an interview with Matt Lauer on the Today Show and said that he would also be leery of his son playing football. Obama also, though, compared this to smoking. He said, these guys know what they're getting into. So while on the one hand I can see his point, on the other hand, there's no one offering anyone millions of dollars to smoke cigarettes, which is obviously what's happening with players in the NFL.
Yeah, that's a good point. The president talked about race as well in this article. This is just some of what he had to say about that. Quote, "There's no doubt that there's some folks who just really dislike me because they don't like the idea of a black president. The flip side of it is there are some black folks and maybe some white folks who really like me and give me the benefit of the doubt precisely because I am a black president." Is this the first time that the president has directly talked about how race has affected his standing as president?
He's always been very, very careful to avoid talking about race in these sort of strictly political terms, if you will. I mean, it's something that, those in his inner circle or his aides will discuss as being a potential factor in how he's treated. And obviously, in the 2012 campaign, you saw a lot of instances where race sort of bubbled up underneath. I mean, he's been dealing with issues related to his birth certificate for a long time that many Democrats point to as ultimately being a race issue. But Obama has tended to focus on this, when he has focused on it, more in personal terms, like you saw with how he handled what happened with Trayvon Martin. And he said, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. So this is a pretty rare instance of him sort of evaluating exactly how it affects him from a political perspective, and hits his approval rating.
Kasie Hunt down in D.C. for us on this Monday. Kasie, thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
The easing of